This is Movies and Dreamscapes. Good evening, listeners. Captain Lyra Hale awoke to the rhythmic hum of the ship. Her vision blurred as her body struggled to catch up with her mind. She was still in her cryoed sleep chamber. The glass in front of her eyes was frosted, distorting the shadows beyond. She squinted, confused. The familiar faces of her crew wandered around the chamber room, but something was horribly wrong. Their movements were jerky, disjointed, as if puppets on broken strings. And their eyes, those once vibrant and knowing eyes, were now glazed over, milky white, vacant. They didn't speak. They didn't acknowledge one another. It was as if they were walking dead, animated by some unseen force. Panic surged through Lyra. She pounded on the glass, desperate for a sign of recognition. The sound echoed in her ears, muffled by the chamber, but it was loud enough. Every head turned towards her, the white orbs staring straight into her soul. A low growl rumbled from their throats, a sound far too inhuman for the people she once trusted with her life. Lyra froze. Her heart hammered in her chest, the sound of it deafening in the eerie silence. After a moment, they turned away, resuming their mindless pacing as though their existence had been momentarily forgotten. Her breath came in shallow gasps as her hands fumbled for the emergency release. Fingers trembling, she found the small lever at the base of the chamber. With a groan, the glass hissed open, but only a fraction, just enough for her to glimpse the main door to the chamber room. It was ajar, beckoning her with the promise of escape. The stale, cold air kissed her skin as she slid her body belly down to the narrow opening. The floor was frigid, biting against her compression shorts and thin under tea. But Lyra didn't care. Every muscle in her body tensed as she slid inch by inch across the floor, palms scraping against the metal. She couldn't afford a single mistake. A sharp smack echoed as her hand slipped. One of the crew, at least what was left of him, turned, his head jerking unnaturally towards her. His neck creaked, eyes narrowing, as though honing in on her unnatural precision. The guttural groan returned, louder this time, more aggressive. She couldn't wait any longer. Heart racing, Lyra pushed herself to her knees and bolted for the door, the cold air of the corridor hitting her like a slap. The sound of sluggish footsteps followed her, slow but relentless. She didn't dare look back. The corridor was bathed in a sickly red glow, the emergency lights casting long, twisted shadows on the walls. The main power was down. The low hum of the backup systems was the only sound aside from her ragged breathing and the shambling of her infected crew behind her. Reaching the main deck, Lyra slapped the door panel, and it slid just in time. Her body sagged against it, but relief was fleeting. The bridge was drenched in the same red emergency light. Every console was dead. No power, no guidance. She rushed to the control panel frantically, trying to override the systems. Each attempt was met with failure. The ship was unresponsive, as if its very heart had been ripped out. Desperation clawed at her throat. She needed answers, anything to explain what had happened while she slept. Moving to the ship's backup terminal, she worked to reroute power. The seconds dragged on like hours, the eerie silence amplifying her fear. Finally, the terminal flickered to life, its screen casting a pale glow against her anxious face. There it was, the last video log. Lyra hit play, and her crewmate's face appeared on the screen. Commander Elise Afton. A sheen, drained of life, but still human, at least at the time of the recording. "We woke up before you, Captain." Elise's voice was a rasp, filled with dread. "Something went wrong with the pods. A systems error. Then we found it. A ship docked to ours. No crew, no signs of life, just this presence. It came abroad, and it took them, Lyra. It took most of us." Elise's voice broke as she continued. "We didn't wake you in time. We thought maybe if you stayed asleep, it wouldn't find you. But if you're seeing this, then I'm sorry. It's inside me now, Captain. It's inside us all. We're not ourselves anymore. We're something else." The screen flickered. Elise's eyes growing distant, her words slurring. "If you're still human, get off the ship before you turn into us." The video cut to static. The terminal's soft hum, the only noise in the suffocating silence. Lyra felt her skin crawl. A cold sweat dripped down her neck. Her breathing grew shallow as she realized it wasn't just her crew. It was her. A faint throb pulsed through her veins, a strange invasive sensation creeping beneath her skin. She could feel it. The thing that had infected her crew, gnawing at the edges of her consciousness, slithering inside her like a parasite. It was only a matter of time. Lyra stared out the viewport, her heart pounding in her ears. The vast, endless void of space stretched before her, black and unforgiving. Her ship, once her sanctuary, was now a tomb. She was alone. Alone with the slow, suffocating horror of knowing she would become one of them, unless she found a way off.